I am thrilled to be talking to Panache Desai here from Austin, Texas, in Unity Church of the Hills, where you will be coming on March 1st. We're excited to have you coming our way. Will you tell us, for those who are listening or watching and don't know who you are, a little bit about yourself and your path to becoming a thought leader and a catalyst for transformation? What led you to this point, spiritually and otherwise?
So that's quite the evolutionary arc, and that could basically take up the sum total of our time together. So I'll just give you the highlights and the points that were kind of pivotal in that journey. So I was born into a very spiritual family in London. My grandmother raised me for the first 5 years of my life, and I was raised in like a meditation center. And she would chant and pray and burn incense every day. And so this became my kind of seminal formative experience of life and living. Coupled by that, I was always very empathic, very open, very sensitive, and I could literally feel what was going on in people or have an awareness about what other people were experiencing. And this isn't something that's unique to me. We all have this ability. It's just that we have yet to recognize that the more we're able to be at peace in ourselves and the more we're able to be still in ourselves, the more we open up to everyone and everything else. And so on the weekends, being Indian, we'd go see gurus. It's what you do. And they would all say, "We've been waiting for you." And that to me was like the weirdest thing, waiting for me. I didn't even know what that meant at that time. But they could all see something in me that I wasn't aware of. And as I got older, I moved away from spirituality to try and fit in. And of course, I realized that the more I tried to fit in, the more I suffered. And the more my experience of suffering became louder and louder and louder. And I got involved in music in London. And London had a thriving underground music scene. And I was like the only Indian kid involved in the thriving underground music scene in London. And subsequently got to a point where I, at the age of about 21, sat down with my mother and just said, I feel like I'm living a lie. It's like we're born connected to this essential self, and then we begin to become this conditioned kind of version of ourselves. And we become the version of ourselves that we think that everybody else wants us to be. And of course, the more we do that, the more the suffering gets louder and louder and louder. And I got to a point where I was like done with the suffering. Mm-hmm. And I just sat down with my mom and said, "Mom, I need to go away and live like a monk for 6 months." And I went to a residential retreat center and lived a very simple monastic life. And in that time, I reconnected with that energy and that presence of my meditation room from my formative years. And in that environment, in the presence of that safety, I was able to begin to start to shed all of these inauthentic aspects of myself that had accumulated out of a need to fit in or out of a need to belong or to please certain family members or to show up as some acceptable, normal version of being a human being. I've subsequently realized that I would rather be natural than normal. And so all of these experiences have led to me being able to travel the world, support people like you from all over the world in being empowered in who they are, and in also supporting people in navigating their humanity. And most importantly, helping people realize that they're enough. Yeah. I realized in that period of suffering or in that arc of my journey, that the more I was connected to myself, the more I was at peace. And in that experience, there was no suffering. But the more I began to move away from that and become some other version of myself, a version that I felt that I needed to be, because on some level I felt like I wasn't good enough, the more I suffered. And so that was basically my journey. And along the way, there were some peak experiences that I had because I was very skeptical. And one of them was a direct experience of the divine, where I just experienced this infinite ocean of energy and presence. And I was shown very clearly that this presence and this energy and this field of potential is who we really are. We're not just a mind, we're not just a body, we're not just, a story. Really what we are is this kind of infinite field of potential. And that a part of my role is to help people become reestablished in that again at this point in human history.